Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the HR Morning Show brought to you by Calendar PA and the team at Purple Acorn. My name is Brian Fink, and you're probably wondering, why am I shouting? Why am I screaming? I'm shouting from the rooftops because I am joined by a first-time guest host, a long-time listener, and a long-time friend, Michael Goldberg. Michael Goldberg's in the house. Let's give it up for Michael Goldberg, everybody.
Hey, hey! All the applause. I can hear it.
You can hear it. Well, welcome. Well, you know, if somebody had not gone to a fish show last night, and we're not naming Paws by name, but if they were here, then possibly there would be some sound effects. I'm excited that Michael is part of the rotation. Michael, introduce yourself to the good people who don't know you as well as I do.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Michael Goldberg, and I'm the president, or I'm the CEO and founder of Hiring Transformed. And I basically work with companies in helping them scale up so that so that they're operating efficiently. That's the bottom line. So happy to be here. Excited that you had thought of me. I did not go fishing last night, as they say, but coming to you live from Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts.
Now, wait a minute, Michael. You're gonna drop that you're in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, but are you gonna tell everybody the very important reason that you are visiting Martha's Vineyard today?
Well, yes. So there was an important reason, but it was back in Bristol, Rhode Island, which is right outside Newport, where my daughter uh, took it on a different name. She got married this week, man. It was awesome. It was the best wedding I had ever been to. Everybody had so much fun. There was so much love, so much just, it was the best verb and vibe I have ever felt in a very, very, very long time, like since they were born, right? Like, oh, this is really cool. And then you get there and you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. Everybody
All
had
right.
a blast.
I love that. And speaking of having a blast, if you're looking for more great content and you want to have fun with it, we're part of Purple Acorn. You can head over to the purpleacornnetwork.com where you can check out other shows that are brought to you, like Trent Cotton's episodes where he debunks a lot of mythology around AI. Or you can jump into a conversation with Kyle Lagunas. And we're going to talk about Kyle in just a minute. We've got a special announcement about something that he's put together with Jake and with Stacy, and we'll get to that in a little bit. As we talk about getting to things, I want to encourage everybody to follow us on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're a podcast. We're on every Tuesday, and we're heading. This is episode 96. We have got 4 more episodes. We are heading towards September with episode 100. I want you to drop in the comments who you want the guest to be for episode 100 because we want to make sure this is action packed for you. And we want to continue to hope that you'll follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. So, to that, and about this adventure that we're on, we mentioned that we've got something special cooked up with our friend Kyle Lagunas over at Kyle & Co. And it is the state of candidate fraud detection and prevention, where he'll be joined by Jake Paul and by Stacy Zapper. Stacy and I talk or riff all the time about the state of candidate fraud, or really fraudulent candidates that are applying en masse to our jobs. Oh man, we got Megan Cantrell on the call. This is awesome. Megan is somebody who also understands really the risk that every organization faces by not forwarding out or not looking at top of funnel, mid funnel, and end of funnel when it comes to candidate fraud. So tomorrow, Kyle & Co. is going live on July 29th, and they're going to have a conversation around detection and prevention. Because as Michael and I can attest, whenever we post a job, probably half of those, I mean, Michael, what would you say? How many of those candidates would you say are fraudulent?
I'd say probably at least 30%. Probably it's more than that. I'm just being conservative.
Being conservative, I mean, Gartner gave out the information that it was at 25%, that 1 out of every 4 candidates, this was a statistic they released in December of 2025. And it really continues to perpetuate itself and become a self-fulfilling prophecy almost. About self-fulfilling prophecies, I mentioned Stacy. Stacy has an organization. It's called the Fraud Squad. And they're going to have a presentation on August 11th with the team at ERE. If you can't get enough Stacy, we're turning this into the HR Stacy morning show. If you can't get enough Stacy, you also want to join Stacy in November, where she's going to be one of the keynote speakers at ERE's Recruiting Innovation Summit. I know I'm going to be there. I know Michael's going to be there. The whole team from Purple Acorn is going to descend on San Diego, and we're excited about the stories that are going to erupt from all this learning and the information that's going to be transmuted back to the greater community. As we talk about the great community, let's roll into some headlines, baby.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh my God, Michael, look at those trends. We've got some information coming to us live from the SHRM, that's shrm.org, in their executive network, looking at employee benefits trends in 2026, July of 2026. One of the things that jumped out at me immediately is that mental health coverage is declining. And I'm kind of worried about this because this has been something that has been declining every year since 2022. It's almost like the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic came to an end, and we moved away from being concerned about people's mental well-being. Michael, what are your thoughts around this in-network access and how it's starting to decline?
So I'm very concerned about it. Just in especially like this weekend, you when we were with all the younger folk, if you will. Sorry, but in talking with them, that there's still a lot out there, and they need that. And we were actually talking about like, well, does your company offer mental health benefits? And a lot of them said no. They have their what is it, AEP, or a what do you call it? The you know what I'm saying, where you pick
Oh
up the
yeah,
phone,
yeah, the
EAP,
telehealth.
right? Telehealth services, and there are a lot. Now, I will say, in some of the research and some of the companies that I've been reaching out to, that I've seen an increase in mental health service providers. So around that telehealth that you talk about, um, you know, paid parental leave surges. I like that. Some you could also say that does help with mental health, but not everybody's having a kid. So I think there should be. I think companies are missing the mark here because there's so much going on. Right? Think about the everyday. The cost of everything. Right? The dealing with the issues at work, dealing with issues at home. There's so much stressor on them, and I think this is. I don't think this is a good move. I think it needs to be increased dramatically.
So, one of my graduate school professors always said that there was a puzzle when the data didn't match what was happening in reality, right? Like where theory and methodology kind of diverge, that you wanted to ask those kind of questions. Michael, do you think it's access, or do you think it's that the premium surges that employers are facing, those corporate health insurance cost increases, and that the medical trends project it to rise roughly by 9% over the next 3 years?
Yeah, I would say I agree with the latter. Right? I think that I think we're going to see a rise in mental health stressors. Um, I mean, just like I said today, just with everything going on and so much, the war and all these different external factors that really kind of pump into our heads. Everybody's worried. Job loss is a huge stressor, though no companies are offering any kind of mental health because nothing's a part of that Cobra plan. If you get that right, and those are things that I think people could really, really would want to pay for.
Michael, you mentioned something that's a diversion, not that's diverted from the article, where they didn't mention layoffs, right? Is
Right.
that, but you also talk about Cobra. Michael Pedito and I had a great conversation last week about the overall effects of layoffs and about psychological safety inside an organization, and as you referred to, the Cobra costs that go along with somebody who's been laid off. I want to focus on the former, the individual who's got the survivor's guilt. Do you think that, how do you think that that individual either does or doesn't tap into resources like healthcare, mental health care, to talk about how they're feeling kind of being left behind in the office, that they survived a layoff.
Again, I don't think companies are addressing that because not only do they have survivor's guilt, but they're also taking on the work of other people. So not only are you getting dumped on once by saying, "Oh man, so and so's gone," but now here comes their work being added on to you, which creates more of a stress in the workplace. And so my thoughts are is if you're a survivor and you're going through a lot right now, you've got there has to be that access to talk to somebody. Even the cost of going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist or whatever the nomenclature would be necessary to use, companies aren't paying for that, right? That comes out of a lot of the therapists and psychiatrists. They don't.
Oh, they're out of network. They're out of network, right?
Yeah,
So like, so
so
there's a decline there. Yeah.
you're forking over between 250 and $500 an hour to talk to someone about that stress. And at some point, you got to say, well, I don't know how much more I'm not working. How much more can I really afford to do that? Right.
So,
And that's why I think it's important for mental health
okay. So,
benefits to be part of COVID.
so about that importance, there's a comment from Rick that coverage is declining at a time when I believe mental health is also declining. It's a formula for an issue. Rick, couldn't agree with you more. I think that it's like when a plant is thirsty, right? Like if you give it too much water, you drown the plant. If you don't give it any water, you you suffocate the plant. Well, is that, or you don't drown it? You dehydrate it.
Well, no, you overhydrate it, which
Well, you
eventually
overhydrate it when you pour too much on it. Well,
you're dehydrating if it's not getting enough.
yeah. So speaking of over, there's actually the second finding or the second research insight in this paper that describes that the percentage of employers who offer benefits for new parents has increased since 2025. And we're looking at almost a double digit increase, that paid parental leave has increased from 39% to 46%. Paid maternity leave has increased from 38 to 44%. And that paid paternal leave increased from 31 to 34%. And that it has gone beyond legal requirements by 10 to 18%. Michael, you recently exited a corporate role. Did you see any of this, that people were accessing more of their paternity and maternity leaves?
I didn't see it and I don't even. I'm going to say I don't know if my former company had paid paternal leave. I know they had family medical, obviously, and maternal leave. But so no, the answer to your question is no. But here's something to think about, right?
Okay.
I've got all three of my kids are grown.
Uh huh.
You've got a 9-year-old, and when you have whether you have one child or multiple children, your mental health things start to happen because the attention you as the father aren't getting enough attention, or maybe the mom is going through some type of postpartum depression or some type of mental health that says, all right, I got to take care of this baby, but I don't have the energy, or what have you. Right. I know I talked to somebody that said that they didn't feel connected to their baby after it was born, which was a little difficult for this person. But I mean, I guess that happens more frequently than not. But still, those are mental health issues. And when you have three kids, or two kids, or even one kid, and let's say they have a life experience. God forbid something bad happens, right? They get sick or even worse, right? That's mental health. Your mental health is going to be affected. So it's great to have all of this paid paternal leave and maternal. It's great to have it up front, but I'm telling you, everybody thinks the solution to happiness is children. It's not. It's a huge mental stress, economically, physically running around, making sure their mental health is stable. it starts to add up and get real expensive. And I think I completely support paternal and maternal leave. I think there again needs to be, well, what happens after the child is born?
So wait a minute. Why is paternity and maternity leave viewed as a talent attraction retention benefit by companies as part of their employer branding, but not viewed as part of but mental health is not folk is not doesn't carry the same weight. What do you think the disconnect is there?
I'm going to go on a limb or go out there and say that companies, they may say they're concerned about your mental health, but like I said, you're taking, someone leaves, you're taking on, somebody else is getting that work to be done, right? I just don't think, I think that they look at the happy stuff, right? They don't look at the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, right? Growing up, we were never supposed to talk about our mental health issues. Now it's daily talk.
Sure, sure. So, and Michael, before we move on to our next headline, also,
Yeah.
if you have access to this SHRM report, I encourage you to look at the third finding, which was about the fact that executive leadership coaching is up. So, while I totally could turn this into a rant against executive leaders and the fact that they need coaching and that this would prevent some of the downstream effects, but I don't have the data to support that. Let's move on to our second headline. Let's see what's going on in the wild and crazy world of new grads and them having to compete with AI for entry level roles. Entry level roles. So, hiring managers in the US are betting on artificial intelligence over new graduates, with 48% saying they'd rather invest in AI tools than hire and train a recent college graduate, according to a Friday report from resumetemplates.com. It's the template of resumes in a .com. Michael, I'm not seeing this. Like on my side of it, I'm seeing that you've got companies that are saying we are hiring recent graduates. You have PwC, you have EY, you have major consulting firms that they're going out and hiring thousands of people at a time, and they expect them to be AI native. Not that they're betting on artificial intelligence over the aptitude of a recent college graduate.
I Here's the thing.
What you got? What's coming up for you?
Well, I've got several thoughts, but let me focus on the one here in my head. I think it's a huge mistake. If you're not focusing on the future, right? I mean, unless people are thinking that, and you're a believer that AI is going to run everything, it's going to become HAL from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that's going to be your, know all be all. What happens then? Why are we continuing to procreate and bring children? I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to me because there's still so much human driven behaviors that need to take place in order for AI to be successful. And companies that are investing in AI and not in the future of their company, they're looking at it wrong. And it makes me nervous, completely nervous.
Michael, maybe it's lower risk, right? Like we know what AI is. We know whether Copilot's going to do this. We don't know what it's going to put out. We know that ChatGPT will do this. We don't know exactly what it's going to put out or what we had to put in to get it. It's a black box. But
Right.
is AI more predictable than a human hire?
Wow. That's a really good question. I'm going to say probably, but I think we're probably a good 4 or 5 years away from that. Like to say that with confidence, right?
Well, I think about this in terms of like the reference check, right? Like,
Mm.
Michael, okay, fine. I run an executive search firm. Hey guys, this is nothing new to those of you who have been in recruiting. I asked for one person that you managed. I asked for one person that managed you, and I asked for one peer, right? And I want to
Mhm.
get a good picture of what your worst day looked like. I know what AI's worst day looked like. It's when AI goes offline and I get a fail whale and I can't access Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Higseth or any of those.
So, but also there are times when AI gives you information that you go, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Like I've run into that. And so I do more research outside of AI to see if it's true or not. And sometimes it doesn't have all the facts. And like a human, what I've also noticed, even if I have the best, prompt written to cover this, that, and the other, it'll sometimes forget what I've asked for, especially if you keep using it and you keep going down the strings, right? The reliability gets less and less and less. With a human, the reliability is there. The person's going to either be there or working remote and can get you the same information and also provide their viewpoints on it. Where AI, while it can do that, you still have to do some fact checking. So I'm going to say that the human, the college intern in this case, would be more reliable than the AI at this stage of AI's evolution.
Well, Michael, I don't disagree with you. I think an AI can certainly do quote unquote a lot of research, but it does make up facts. It codes errors. There's false data, right? Like we totally agree on that. One thing that I think that maybe this article overstated is the nuance of humanity, and you touched on this, and I want to double click on that. Is that entry level workers, they may not understand office politics right off the bat, but I think that they're certainly more adept to understanding the nuance of office politics and subtle client feedback and shifting company priorities more so than an AI is. It's akin to a conversation I was having with Shannon Pritchett. Hey Shannon, from Zoom Info the other day, as I was talking to her about the fact that that sourcers have to operationalize themselves on this level of curiosity. They can't just take things as an intellectual illusion or abstraction. Actually,
Right.
I think I referred to it as intellectual ozembic. Right? Is that they can't just simply take what's there. Adam Fitzer in the house. Adam, what's going
Yeah.
on? Hope to see you at RecFest in a couple of weeks. Adam Fitzer, is AI contributing to declining U.S. birth rates? If people become concerned that AI will disrupt their careers or earnings, they may delay major life decisions such as marriage or having children. Uncertainty tends to reduce fertility as well. Ooh, that is double clicking into the Michael Goldberg world of what's of a comment that he made earlier. Adam, I want to answer that. Is I feel that we've had a declining birth rate since we had the '08 recession, and that people have been putting off those major life investments or major life decisions like the ring, the house, the coupling, the children since '08. I don't have the data. I could give me a minute. I can find that.
Well, and I can talk while you're looking. So, I mean, if you look at my daughter who just got married, over 30, all her friends are over 30. They're starting to get married and they're having children faster in their 30s. When I got married, I was 27, right? My wife was 26. I don't know how old you were, Brian, but I think I remember you saying you were closer to 30, maybe. No, maybe
I
not.
was a
But
brisk I was a brisk 35.
were you really?
Yeah,
I
I
didn't.
wait a
Wow,
minute, hold on, take that back. Hold on. No, bro, I was 37. I'm sorry.
get out. All right. Well, how about that? I mean, so I think you're hitting on something. I don't know if it's affecting the fertility. I'm trying to understand what, like, his question around is it because we're relying on AI as kind of our life planner? Is that what he's saying? I'm trying to absorb that a little bit.
Totally concur on the '08 trends. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. So, Rick, I do appreciate that. I can't find the data, but one thing that I'd point to Adam's comment, I want to endorse another podcast. It's not on the Purple Acorn Network, but it's Prof G and Prof G Markets with Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway has talked about this as well as has talked about the decline in birth rates and also talked about the effects of AI on young men. That young men are not seeking quote unquote physical companions. They're they're reaching out and they're creating virtual relationships with virtual companions, and I think it's interesting how that's going to play out. Dr. Francis White, we need to include AI as part of teacher education. Dr. White, thank you for joining the program. I believe that Claude or Anthropic has made the premium tier of unlimited to teachers and educators for them to be able to use their Claude Code and Claude Cowork in the classroom. The valuation of the workforce will significantly deteriorate. Say more about that, Dr. White. How will the valuation? I mean, are we saying that the valuation or the valuation of the existing market of labor will decline precipitously because they don't have access to AI, or that the future will be distributed unevenly? I'm curious.
Well, and as she's responding, my thought, and I think it does need to be included with teacher education, but it also needs to continue. What about us as parents and that parental education, right? And when they go to college, the student centers and the career centers helping these young folks as they evolve to learn how to use AI responsibly and to understand how to use AI both in the workplace and outside of the workplace.
Interesting, interesting. I want to go back to the article from resumetemplates.com, the .com of resume templates. Is that they said that 23% of employers said they expect to hire fewer 2026 grads this year than last year. I think that that brings up a conversation for us to have in an episode about skills and skilled trades. Is there really a rise in the adaptation of skilled and skilled trades, or is this just a narrative that's kind of been posted and given to us as a hallucination to kind of subdue our anxiety about employment in the future? I don't know. That's a question for Danielle Farage. Danielle, I look forward to speaking with you soon and having that conversation on an upcoming episode of the HR Morning Show. As we move from these headlines, Michael, is there anything that you wanted to add? Anything that we left off the table?
No, I think these are some. I think these are two very interesting topics and could be a good fodder of conversation for maybe at like an Evolve in Atlanta or just I think a smaller conference. I think this is a great. These two are great two topics here because I think they're
Awesome. Awesome. Speaking of upcoming conferences, Michael, I believe that you're speaking at a conference tomorrow.
Thursday.
Oh,
Thursday, yeah, at
Thursday.
I think 1 or 2 o'clock Eastern time. But I'll be talking about, I'll be talking about candidate fraud, and I do talk a little bit about the work Stacy has put in with her site and stuff. It's gonna be a good conversation. I wish it could be more interactive, which is really hard to do when you're virtual. But if you haven't registered for TA Week, do it. It started yesterday. There's some great speakers, including Mr. Fink, who's speaking today, right, Brian?
I am going to have a conversation today, and actually, if you're listening and you're part of the conference, if you're part of talentacquisitionweek.com, the .com of Talent Acquisition Week, this is going to be a pretty unique Bullion boot camp. It's going to be the last time I ran something like this was 4 years ago, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with the basics, the fundamentals of internet search, and then we're going to quickly ramp up, and we're going to ramp up. We're going to take your topics and your requisitions, and we're going to do hardcore Boolean search to find the people you're looking for on TikTok, Instagram, WhatsApp, That's where we're going to go. That's where we're going to search. Yes, we're going to do LinkedIn. No, the X-ray is not dead. And if it is, I'll show you different search engines that you can use to get around that deadness. So, Michael, I'm pretty excited about the conversation. I'll be having it 3:25 Eastern today, and I look forward to. If you've got a requisition that is keeping you up at night, bring it to this conversation because we're going to go live. We're going to do live sourcing. Ronnie Bratcher, my friend who texted me just a little while ago, hey Ronnie, friend of Michael and mine, is that we're gonna go live and we're gonna do this thing. So speaking of doing this thing, I want to let you know that if you're looking to do your next thing, which is have an epic event at one of these upcoming events, TA Week, which is going to be in San Diego in February, or you're looking to do something wild and crazy at RecFest, there's only one person that you need to connect with, and that's Evan White.
Who's the fella who lights up a room when he walks in the door? Evan White, with so many strong ideas, he's creative to the core. Evan White, cause he's been at it for 20 whole years with plenty to show for his illustrious career. So if you're looking to grow your brand, then Evan White is here. Cause talent tech PR is sure to take you very far. The HR tech space has a fresh face, and it'll make your brand a star. Spinning straw into gold and taking flight, you'll be soaring through the sky at incredible heights with talent tech PR from Evan White.
I was
That's so,
no, go for it, Michael. What's up?
no, I was saying I've never seen that before. There you go. I love it.
Well,
That was
so
great.
so you talk about loving it, right? Like, look, here's the long and short of it is that we're all going to go to events this year, right? In real life is in real life, all right. If you're going to go to an event, do you want to be spoken at by a speaker who hasn't been vetted, or do you want to be in an event that is just the opposite, where you're having great conversations in the hallway with the speaker, or more importantly, in an intimate setting that has been crafted for you to have that conversation? If you're looking to build that type of environment, Evan White's your guy. Whether it's hosting the Redneck Riviera at RecFest, which if you want an invite, they're going fast, and you need to reach out to Connor@pin.com. Okay? But that's the type of event that you want to be a part of. Speaking of being a part of, Michael, I'm so grateful that you were able to join us for this episode of the HR Morning Show. If you haven't picked up on it, folks, this has been a little bit of an abbreviated show today. Michael jumped in at the last minute and put together a stellar combination of conversation for us to have. And I want to thank Michael for making that happen.
My
Also,
pleasure.
also, I want to thank Alan, our producer, who worked tirelessly to get everything up and running this morning with all the difficulties that we may or may not have had. Alan's kind of the unsung hero of the HR Morning Show. And I wanted to make those shout outs before we rolled into our next session, which is a little bit of a rapid fire Q&A, if you know what I mean. I will Q and Michael will A. And I'm going to ask Michael about some topics in HR that may or may, oh, he's looking at this, right? Michael, what do you think is the hottest trend in HR today?
Hottest trend?
Yeah.
AI. AI is the talk. It's so boring, but AI, AI.
All right,
Why
wait a
not?
minute. Michael, I got to challenge you on this. 3 years ago, we're at Transform, we're at Unleash, we're at RecFest, and the
Yeah,
conversation is AI is coming. Then last year, the conversation, the title track is AI is here.
here.
Is the title track for the conversation that we're going to have in 2026 and 2027, AI is here, now what the hell do we do with it? What does that
I
look
think so. Yeah, so it's AI is here. Now what? Right. And I think the people that have gotten into it, people like you and me and Aaron Matthew, hey Aaron, and everyone we know that are really, really into it. There are still a ton of people that are going, oh, we'll just wait and see where it goes. Or their companies are
Why
saying,
are they waiting?
why are they waiting?
Yeah.
Because the companies are saying you can only use Copilot or you can only use Gemini. And I love Gemini, Copilot not so much, but there are other tools out there that you can be using, whether it's on your own computer outside of work. And it's just as long as you don't not putting that confidential data in there, you can still use AI to help you be more productive. And I think and the only way to do this is to get on your own personal computer and experiment. And I've been able to build several key things for my business that help give me information for lead generation and that also help me do the research so that I can prepare for discussions like this.
Uh,
And it just takes one small step to start with a simple prompt and then build on what your vision is in your head.
all right. So I think the dominant line is what AI handles versus what humans stay in the loop. I think some of the content that has been put out by Sarah White really knocks on that door. And I think she's one of the voices that are really driving this conversation. One of the voices in the conversation, however, is Workday. Workday found that nearly 40% of the time AI saves gets eaten back up by tedious tasks. This is on the Workday blog. 89% of roles at companies still haven't redefined work around AI capabilities. So, are we actually saving time or are we just reallocating the work?
To me, we're reallocating the work. That's what we should be doing. Reallocate your work so that you can be more productive.
All right. So, then about productivity, I'm going to challenge you on this one is that, Michael, Gartner, who we were talking about, or we cited earlier when we were talking about candidate fraud, Gartner found that only 1 in 50 AI investments actually delivers transformational value, and 1 in 5 does not. I mean, 1 in 5 only 1 in 5 delivers a measurable return. So, what was the ROI on AI in HR?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What is the ROI of HR?
Yeah, what is the ROI of AI in HR?
It gets rid of the excuse, I'm so busy. I mean, you wrote an article on that.
Yeah,
I
I
read,
did write an article on that, and I
yeah.
pulled heavily from
Uh-huh.
Harvard Business Review. Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter where you pulled it from, but in order to write that article, did you use AI to help you pull out information from that Harvard Business Review article?
No, dude. Okay, so look, guys, full disclosure. Michael and I, we talk about Harvard Business Review at least once a week. It is like our Bible, okay? No disrespect to Torah or Quran, but like it is like our butter. That is what we have intense conversations about. And I think you guys are getting a Q&A, a quick insight as the kind of conversations Michael and I have. Maybe we should host a podcast where we have these conversations out loud.
Right.
But the reality of it is that no, I didn't use AI to write the article unless you
No,
say,
no, not
Brian, use
write the article,
AI.
but to
I
research.
use well, I use AI to do the outline, right? Like I put all my thoughts and I say, how does this work? And then I get my outline and I start putting things together in 5 paragraph segments. Like if you read one of my essays, they're just 5 paragraphs, right? Like I'm still writing on a fifth grade level.
Right. The ROI, so to answer your question, the ROI of AI in HR is to me time back.
Okay.
Because before you couldn't, you had to do the actual research. You had to go find the article, or hell, I'll go back to before
Dude, you
the
could do
internet.
that with Google. You could go sitecommand.hbr.org
Yeah.
space whatever the topic is and go beyond their paywall.
But I've never done that. But I would say
Good
I
times.
think I think it's time. I think, and people go, well, yeah, well, but you say that, but I'm still getting dumped on, and I still get a lot of. Yeah, you do. But if you figure out how to use the AI to your advantage, you're going to get. Even if it's what if you could save a half hour of your time, what would you do with that half hour? That's how you think.
Oh,
All right,
dude, I don't even think about that. Like, I just think I would do more work, or I would spend more time writing,
okay.
which is work.
So you've given
I
yourself
wouldn't
more
watch
time to
Netflix.
do this. Okay, you've just hit on a very key point. You've the ROI is you get to do the things you love. You love to write, right? You love to work, but you could do something if you had to source or you had to build a talent intelligence report for a certain market. And before, where you didn't have that time, now you do have that ability to do the things that you need to do instead of wasting it in administrivia land.
All right, so let's talk about wasting time and investing time. There's a compliance and bias exposure that happens when people either do things too quickly or do things too scarcely. And I'm just wondering about, and guys, I'm thinking out loud as I'm coming up with this question, is that data security, legal, and compliance, they're all tied with a budget as a top three barrier to AI adoption. Do we think that this that AI will eliminate the bias in screening, that it'll get rid of the adverse impact of humans? Or do you think that we're just going to be in a place like Sarah White talked about on Twitter? Sarah White, shout out to you. You should have been a guest on this today. Is that can we explain why the algorithm rejected a candidate? And that's what I'm really concerned about with bias and compliance and moving too quickly, is that can we explain why the algorithm rejected the candidate?
Not without a human decision involved. Sorry, we
But
can't.
but would the Workday Mobility suit suggest that there wasn't a human decision?
I understand that. Hence why they're in trouble.
Well,
So,
yeah, right.
but wouldn't you? I don't know. I would say I, I think bias is. It's going to be very hard to get rid of bias altogether. I think this thing is still evolving. Will we be able to rely on the match scores down? A year from now? No, I
Match
wouldn't.
scores from a vector database or from a keyword matching database
Keyword
like,
like ATS matching.
okay,
Yeah, right.
all right.
They assigned a score based on their skills to the job description. There's still mistakes being made. I, I think it's hard to prove something like age, but uh,
I don't think it's difficult to prove age.
really,
Oh, I don't, is I
bias.
think yeah, I think it's I think it would be very easy to say, look at candidates. Now, guys, real quick, I don't use Workday. I don't know how it works, okay? But I would just say that it's probably easy to say I'm only looking at candidates that have 8+ years of experience for a product marketing role. If I say that and I get a burst of candidates that fall in that dimension and they're ranked in standard deviations from 8 years all the way up to 25,
Mhm.
the data influenced my decision. The standard deviation from the mean ruined my decision based on
Yeah,
the talent pool, right? Like that's okay. I got nerdy with you folks. Apologize for that.
no, it's a
Yep.
great point because, but think about what you just said, right? That's what we rely on. That's the crazy piece is we're looking at all that stuff. So it's almost a catch 22, isn't it?
It is a catch 22. And about catching 22, this is the end of the rapid fire QA session with me and Michael Goldberg. If you liked the rapid fire and you want more Michael Goldberg and more Brian Fink, we would love to come back and just do just a session on this every week on the Purple Acorn Network. We would love to do it. Hint, hint. Maybe we could even replace Serge and the weather report, which, by the way, there's no weather report today because Serge is taking the day off to be a dad, which is pretty awesome. So speaking of being a dad, Michael, you were a proud papa this weekend. I'm a proud papa with Maddie going back to school. We're going to wrap this show up. As we're getting ready to wrap up, I do want to thank our sponsors again, Talent Tech PR and the team from Evan White. I want to thank Calendar PA for being our sponsor of the HR Morning Show. I want to encourage you to tune in every week, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's live, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even on the Wondery Network with Amazon. We look forward to being part of your morning every Tuesday morning. And I can't thank my co-host, Michael Goldberg, more than I am right now. I'm super grateful for this, Michael. Thanks for putting it together at the last minute. Let's rock and roll. Make today a great Tuesday and tune in next week and every week to the Purple Acorn Network's HR Morning Show. We're out. Thanks, guys.
Peace.